Finish up. All right, this is my first YouTube live, so this is pretty exciting. Hello and welcome to my channel. We're going to be talking about how you can become unrecognizable in 2026 because that's the plan. The plan is to literally do exactly that for myself, for our wedding events business, for literally everything that we have going on. So let me say something that's going to annoy you probably a little bit, and that's totally okay because I'm here to make sure that you know what's going on within you. So if your plan is to become unrecognizable in 2026, and if that plan looks something like waking up at 5 and going out to work out and cutting out all of the carbs and all of the sweets and all the good things, cutting out any kind of fun or happiness and turning your life into productivity porn, we got something to talk about because that's not evolving. That's not becoming unrecognizable. I got my master NLP certification this past year, and it actually was something that made me realize what it truly takes to become unrecognizable. And so when you go through these particular actions, habits, routines, whatever you want to call them, you're just stressed with a better aesthetic. Okay. We're not actually working on the nervous system. We're not actually working on creating a version of you that is unrecognizable. That's all of these things. Waking up at 5, it's not going to last. Okay. Trust me, been there, done that. Even this past year, after I gave birth to my daughter, Piper, I was like, oh, I'm going to get back into crew. And getting up at 4:55 is really difficult, especially when you have a newborn baby and you also have a 3-year-old who just got out of chemo. Like these things, they don't make you unrecognizable. They just help you get to burnout faster. So in this video, I want to talk with you about exactly what actually creates a real permanent shift when we're talking about becoming unrecognizable in the new year. And we're not talking about the kind of shift that's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this just because it's the new year. We're talking about the kind of shift where this is actually permanent and it's going to be like, oh, wow, a year from now in, December of 2026, you'll look back and you're like, oh, I didn't even make decisions the same way. Like I never approached anything the same way that I did before. And so we're going to break that down in this video. So first things first, why do goals around becoming unrecognizable ultimately fail? We're going to break that down. Here's what most people do. They try to become recognizable by adding more things in, oh my gosh, to their schedule and their routines. So they create new routines or they create more routines, new habits or more habits. They implement more rules and they create more pressure for themselves by doing these things. So let's just take, for example, a very big one, losing weight in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter if it's 10 pounds, 20 pounds, it doesn't matter how many pounds it is. Ultimately, what people often do is they insert exercise into their routine instead of finding the time where they're already exercising in some way, shape, or form, in some capacity, and then just increasing it or stacking on top of it. Or they'll create more rules for themselves. So, like, you have to cut out carbs, you have to cut out sweets. There's no this, right? There's no that. Whether it's, chocolate or ice cream or whatever, like, none of that good stuff. A new rule to insert into your routine, your habit, your day. And what this does is it creates more pressure on yourself to lose the weight. Because if you don't lose the 20 pounds in the year, then it's like, well, what did I actually accomplish? And then what happens? You stick with this for like a month. And this is very apparent when you sign up for a gym. Okay. If you go to any gym, there are people who sign up at the beginning of the year. They're like, I'm going to become totally unrecognizable in a year from now. Okay. You go to the gym for a month, you do your weightlifting on the leg press machine, and then come February, you're not there anymore. Like that happens all the time. And in order for us to get to sustained routines and sustained habits and sustained ability to create this kind of change, we need to think of something deeper than just the surface level. Oh, yeah, I want to lose weight. When we're thinking about going to the gym, just as the example that we're going to go with for right now, because it's the easiest one, You're going for the month, you feel pretty good, and then what happens? You're like, "Oh, well, so and so's birthday, and now it's Valentine's Day, and well, St. Patrick's Day is coming up." You find something. Life happens, there's an excuse, whatever the case may be. Once that happens, your nervous system checks the fuck out. Like, your nervous system's like, "Nope, we're tapping out. I'm feeling pretty burnt. I don't really want to keep going," because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again where it's creating a pattern. Okay. And it's because of that stress and that pressure that you're adding onto yourself. It's creating more guilt within yourself because real change doesn't come from efforting. Real change comes from being. And what I really want to make sure that you understand in this video is that being is your identity. It's who you are, not what you do. Okay. And that's when we're talking about the difference between being and doing, we're talking about the difference between an external event or an external happening and then who you are as a person, your identity. Do you identify as a YouTuber? Do you identify as a gym rat? Do you identify as a mom? Right? What do you identify as? Because when we're talking about creating change, we want to create change in identity level. You don't rise to the level of your goals, okay? You fall to the level of your beliefs. And that ultimately comes down to what your subconscious feels safe doing. All right. I want you to think of like a my mentor drew a really great picture of this, and I just don't have the capability to do it. So it's like a square, right? And then in the middle of the square is like the circle, right? Like this. Your goal is up here. That's your absolute highest goal, right? Like the highest level that you can achieve or reach for yourself. And then down here at the bottom is your belief system, is your subconscious. And this is what you are going to fall to time and time again. And so, like, it's not that you don't want to, and it's not that the capability to go to that level isn't there. It is. It's just that when we're going through these new goals, these new changes, it is not determined by the upper limit. It is determined by what you're building from the foundation. So from the bottom to the top. And that's the part that nobody really wants to talk about because the subconscious is scary and the subconscious is protecting you and it's keeping you safe. And so when we're talking about becoming unrecognizable, we want to give ourselves a definition. What does that mean for you, for yourself, for 2026, for your goals? Being unrecognizable and becoming unrecognizable isn't about doing new things. It's about doing things differently. It's about choosing differently. Maybe it's at a different pace, or maybe it's at a different, like you would normally choose to do some pattern. Maybe it's an X pattern, right? And you decide, well, I'm going to try something different. It's trusting yourself sooner. It's trusting your intuition. And it's trusting that and you have the answer within you, and you know that you have the answer within you, and you're going to do it. You're going to use that answer. You're going to come back to that every single time. It's not going down the rabbit hole. It's not spiraling where you used to be. It is the time and the moment where you don't need a pep talk to take small action. You can do it because that's who you are. Again, identity level work. It's the moment where you stop outsourcing your certainty and you own it. A really good example of this is actually, I talked about this in a past podcast episode. 2025 is a 9-year. And so when you're thinking about a 9-year, you're thinking about all 9 of the years leading up to 2025 as well. So it's 2016 to 2025. And when I did my ultimate review of the last 9 years, what I realized was that I was constantly seeking the answer outside of myself, whether it was going to a different country, moving to a different country, moving to a different state, looking for a mentor who was going to give me the answers on how to build my business and how to get more revenue to come in. It didn't matter. It was always the same. I was looking outside of myself. And what it's doing when you're looking outside of yourself is it's creating a pattern. Like, people are going to know that you're just looking for an answer. You're just looking for something instead of creating it from within yourself. And so when you're coming back to your own certainty and your own identity, then you are able to say, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is going to work. I know that this is going to work. Like you are certain. There is no doubt. And doubt is, again, something that is felt because of a limiting decision. And we get to unravel that going through subconscious work. Okay. So when we're talking about creating a definition for unrecognizable, another thing that we're talking about is that you're not over explaining yourself. You get the point across, however you get the point across, and that's it. If people don't understand you, they can ask the question. But you say what you need to say. You've spoken your piece. You've speaked your piece. You get what I'm saying? It's said. You know what you said. It's done. Becoming unrecognizable is an internal job. It's not an external job because the results, the external results are ultimately just a side effect. This is manifestation 101. Okay. It's just more sciencey. So let's get to the real shift. This is the core of what it is to be unrecognizable. So if 2026 is going to be different, let's just review this really honestly, very fast. You don't need to have a new strategy. You don't need to have a new relationship with what you're doing. You need a new relationship with yourself. You internally and here need to consider your current identity, where you are now, and where you're looking to go. Because right now, part of you is still trying to stay likable, to stay safe, and to stay consistent with something that you've done in the past. So another example, let's just use this as a really good example. I'm going live for the first time on YouTube ever. I've never gone live on YouTube, and my plan is to go live once a week on YouTube for the considerable foreseeable future. Because by not utilizing my YouTube, I'm missing out on a huge opportunity because I have a huge audience here on YouTube. And if I were staying consistent with an older version of me, I would post for a little while and then I'd drop off. This is going to be a hard season. 2026 is not going to be easy whatsoever. This is going to be a hard season for myself in terms of my work and what I'm putting in here. Don't get me wrong. I've had other types of hard seasons. As I said in the beginning of this episode, my daughter had chemo. And if I can get through my daughter's chemotherapy treatment while pregnant and then come out of that, start a foundation, a new business, and still find time to get her to all of her appointments and my newborn to all of her appointments, get myself taken care of, actually run weddings for our wedding events business, I think it's very possible for me to streamline a little bit and work with the time that I have to create this content business and create the NLP opportunities for people who are watching my content. And so that's the difference. It isn't bad. It's just outdated. Those past habits, those past routines, the past, oh yeah, I'd post for a little while and then I'd fall off. It's not that it's bad. There is no such thing as good and bad. Okay. It is all perspective. And that perspective, like I just said, it's outdated. We're moving on. The work isn't how do I become someone new? It's where am I still making decisions with who I used to be, from who I used to be. Because when you can realize that you're making a decision, like let's just take, for example, again, the YouTube thing, right? Let's say it's March. I'm like, oh yeah, Piper's turning 1 and, I want to take a week off because it's her birthday. That's who I used to be. I am going to still post during that week because I have a ultimate objective to make this business get off the ground. It's just been on the ground. It always gets kind of forgotten about. This year it gets off the ground. This year is the year. And so instead of asking, well, what do I need to do in 2026? Who is the person who shows up like that? What am I ready to stop negotiating with myself about? What decision do I keep delaying because it would change how people see me? What do I keep doing when I'm creating that is ultimately driven from a place of maybe performance? Where do I already know the answer, but I'm pretending that I don't? These are questions that are going to help you get more to the root of what's going on internally. Those answers, that's where becoming unrecognizable in 2026 lives, because those are subconscious based questions. You're not asking why, you're not asking how, you're asking what. And when you ask your subconscious mind, what am I doing to, or what decision do I keep delaying? The first thing that pops up, that's your answer. That's your subconscious mind giving you the answer. It's not in a vision board and it's not in a planner. It's in your patterns, it's in your brain, it's in your behavior. Because thoughts create your beliefs create your behaviors and your actions, and your behaviors and your actions ultimately create your reality. So, where can you start to recognize the pattern? Where can you stop the pattern or change the pattern? That's becoming unrecognizable. So, the energy of this next version of yourself, this unrecognizable version of yourself. Here's something that I want you to hear. Like, I want to make sure that this lands for you because it's important. The version of you that feels unrecognizable in 2026 doesn't force, doesn't rely on motivation, doesn't wait for confidence, and doesn't wait for someone else to give them the answer or their input or their perspective, and doesn't micromanage outcomes. They move because it's normal for them to move. And another thing that I want to just say, just because this is very important and this is actually true, money loves momentum. If you know that you want to change your financial identity, your financial world in general, create the momentum and keep the momentum, because money loves momentum. And once something becomes normal, it's more sustainable. That is the difference. Ultimately, when we're talking about where you are now and becoming a completely different person in the next 365 days. Although it is December 28th, so it's a little bit more than 365 days. It doesn't really matter. If this landed for you, I want you to do one thing. I want you to comment 2026 down below, and I want you to let me know which part landed. Which was the part that was like, wow, that really hit me. And I want you to also smash the follow button, the subscribe button, and tune in for more, because this year is going to be big. This year is going to be really big. Not as a promise, not as pressure, just as a decision that you're done trying to be this old version of yourself, the same pattern, and you know that you're done trying to change from the outside in, and you're ready to make a sustainable change from the inside out. Because once the inside shifts, everything outside follows. So that's when you become truly unrecognizable. If this resonated for you, please, please, please let me know. I am so, so glad that you tuned in. Be sure to check down in the description for any highlights that you were like, oh, wow, I want to go back to that section and watch it again. And then also for my free templates, I have a free Notion strategy template that you can grab. And I also have a business Notion template that I'm actually reading off my bullet points of right now. I love this Notion strategy template that I created for myself. I literally use it every single day. I have it for my online content business, and I also have it for my wedding business. It is $27. And then if you use the discount code 2026 strategy, you'll get 30% off. And stay tuned, because there is something coming about expression. This is the era of expression. It is going to be big. It's coming February 9th, and I'm really excited to talk more about it with you. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for attending my first live stream. If you did attend this live stream, thanks for not judging my background, because obviously my office is a mess and we're cleaning up. This is cleaning up Christmas back here. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.